Hey guys, Youngblood with you, and today I wanted to share some fun gameplay we've been doing recently in PXP, and that's been borderline perfected by a few of our members, and that's kind of in the ship stealing category, specifically going out and stealing AI pirates' vessels. Now, I'm sure these tactics are going to work on real ships as well, but they won't be as effective because players are going to adapt and react much differently and better than the AI does today. So you may be asking, what's the point of doing this? And I guess that's kind of a fair question. However, there's a few good reasons for doing this. One, it's a different gameplay and something new for you to try, and that's always a good thing. Two, you can get cool skinned ships that you don't really have access to otherwise in the verse available to you, such as blue and red colored ships. And three, the real value in doing this is that it gets you as close as you're going to get to having an AI crew for the time being. The crew in the turrets can and will work for you, assuming you follow the steps that I outline in this video. The first thing that you need to do is be able to disable a ship without doing too much damage to it. And you may say, what does that matter? I can go and get it repaired after I disable it. But there's a few limitations that you need to be aware of when you steal an NPC ship. Now, when you have one, you are able to restock the weapons on board at a repair facility, so that's helpful, especially if you like using missiles. But you cannot repair it, and you cannot refuel it. So blowing off thrusters, to be able to stop it, may get the ship to actually stop. But the problem is you're never going to be able to repair those thrusters afterwards. And because of that, using a ship with EMP is basically a must. Maybe one day distortion weapons will be working well enough that you can actually overload a power plant, but where things stand today, they are spotty at best. So that means you want one of 4 ships for this type of mission: a Warlock, a Sentinel, a Saber Raven, or a Hawk. And as of right now, the Warlock and the Sentinel have the best EMP and are going to be your best bet for disabling a ship, but you can make do with the other 2 as well. Now, the best way to find a target at this point, considering interdictions seem to be all but turned off, is to take a bounty mission out at Delamar or Hurston. And basically what that means is that in order for you to get a ship that's really worth stealing, you generally want to get a CS3 or a CS4 bounty mission. But that also means that when you take one of those, you're likely going to have 4 or 5 escort ships that you need to kill before you can try this. Mainly because they're going to try and kill you while you're trying to board the other ship, which also means that these missions are best suited to a small group of players doing this together, though it can be done solo if you have the right ship and you are a competent pilot. So after you remove all of the ships other than the one that you want to hijack, you deploy the EMP, which seems to permanently disable any ship that's piloted by an AI as of now. From there, you fly aside the ship, you jump out in EVA mode, and you approach the hatch to enter. Now, this could be the side doors on a Cuddy or the Cat. It could be the front door on the Cat. On other ships, it could be an elevator or an airlock. It doesn't really matter. Now, there are going to be some entry points that are considered best depending on the ship, but you'll figure that out with practice. Then, once you pick your entry point, you have a few ways of really getting inside the ship. Now, rocket launchers like the Animus might be appealing because they do a lot of damage, but the problem is that you need to be very close to the ship to actually get inside of the shield so you can start doing damage to the hull. And what that means is that the explosions on the Animus make it very dangerous. So your real options are going to be either the railgun, an automatic weapon, or the cutting tool. Right now, the recommendation is the cutting tool because it does the least damage to the ship in question, but about 2 clips from an SMG or a few from a railgun is generally going to deal enough damage to that entry point for it to be able to open up. I generally just use a couple clips of an SMG because that's what I normally have on my person at any time. Now, once inside, your goal is pretty simple: get to the bridge and kill the pilot. Now, these ships just have turret gunners and a pilot, and so that means it's basically a cakewalk to get in there, especially since their NPCs are not going to get out of the turrets. Now, sometimes when you get in there, though, the pilot is going to be a little bit glitched into the seat. Not always, sometimes it's very easy. But what I recommend is an automatic weapon for killing him, because it means you have a lot, you don't need to reload. A pistol seems easy, but sometimes it takes a little bit of kind of play to figure out what shots are actually going to do the job. So having those multiple bullets to be able to fire from different angles to find the best way to land shots is helpful. Now, once that pilot is dead, you need to get into the seat, and here's an important note. The turret gunners, once you're in the seat, will immediately think that the ship is active and will start shooting at targets again. Now, if you came in a small fleet, that means that the turrets are going to start engaging your buddies because they think they are red targets. Now, what you should do is have your own crew back away from the ship so they're out of range, while you essentially reboot the NPCs by powering down and powering up the ship. Now, sometimes it occasionally takes a few times to make that work, but eventually what will happen is that the NPC will only fire at targets that are red to you. But once all of those steps have been completed, you're in a cool looking caterpillar with some large weapons, or an auto fire type of ship, or even a hammerhead with 6 turrets and 4 guns on it that are ready to do work on your behalf. And that hammerhead is really going to be the belle of the ball, and is something that's a lot of fun to work with. And we've almost seen it to a point to where we've started hijacking smaller ships and using those to get to the bigger ships, where you're not risking your own vessels, and you also have NPCs to kind of help you out, which is pretty appealing. We've actually done some pretty interesting things in PXP. I wasn't involved in this, but there were some griefers at Al-Azhar the other day where our organization ended up bringing in a hijacked hammerhead and then a couple other hijacked ships that had NPC on board, and they just cleared out the sector. And the best part about all of that was it was taking a lawless pirate ship into lawful hands and coming in to save other lawful players against those real players that were intending to do harm against them. Essentially what you did was you took a villain and turned it into a savior, which is pretty neat stuff. In my opinion, the ships with the largest quantum tanks are generally going to be the ones that I recommend taking, just because they tend to be bigger ships, you have more turrets, and since you can't refuel the quantum fuel, not having a small pool to work from is going to be relevantly important. But there is something still very fun about having a blue Cuddy Black with a turret gunner as well. So that's the overall gist of all of this, and it's pretty cool, not only for something new to do, but potentially something to get you prepared for the new mission types that we know are on the horizon. Anyways, take this, have fun, do good, and enjoy. That's going to be it for this video. If you guys have questions or comments, get them in down below. Otherwise, I hope you and your family are all doing very well in these really strange times, and honestly, I hope you and your loved ones take care. So again, that's it for tonight. Have yourselves a good day. Take care.